It began quietly, in a hospital room bathed in dim light, where a nurse whispered that Hollywood's golden rebel had asked for her mirror. And Frances, once the radiant star of Forbidden Planet, now frail and pale, lifted the mirror to her face. For a moment, she smiled, softly, knowingly, as if greeting an old friend. That reflection, the same face that had captivated millions, told the story of a woman who had loved fiercely, fought quietly, and lived with a grace that few ever truly saw. But how did this magnetic woman, who once ruled the screen with confidence and allure, end up facing her final days in such solitude? To understand, we must go back to the beginning, back to the girl who refused to be ordinary. Her story began in Ossining, New York, where she was born, and Lloyd Francis in 1930. The Great Depression had left its shadow on every home, but little Ann was different. With her wide blue eyes and angelic curls, she seemed destined for something brighter. By the age of 6, she was already modeling, her picture appearing in department store catalogs that her mother kept neatly folded in drawers. Acting soon followed, and by her teenage years, Ann was performing on Broadway. There was a fire in her even then, a sharp intelligence and independence that set her apart from the ingenues of her time. She wasn't interested in playing pretty. She wanted to be powerful, Hollywood noticed. MGM signed her in the 1940s, casting her in roles that highlighted her fresh-faced beauty. But Ann was never content to be just another blonde starlet. She trained tirelessly, studied her lines until dawn, and fought for characters that had depth. Her big break came in 1956 with Forbidden Planet, a groundbreaking sci-fi film that made her an international sensation. As Altera, the only woman on a planet filled with men, she exuded both innocence and an unearthly allure. Viewers couldn't take their eyes off her. Beneath the shimmering gowns and futuristic sets, however, Ann brought something else, a subtle intelligence that made even science fiction feel human, but success came with its own loneliness. Fame, she once said, was like being the only woman at a crowded party. Everyone wants a piece of you, but no one really knows you. In the late 1950s, she married fellow actor Bamlet Price Jr., but the union was short-lived. Hollywood marriages rarely survived the glare of the spotlight, and Ann's drive to build her career left little space for domestic calm. Her second marriage to Dr. Robert Abeloff brought her a daughter, Jane, and for a time, she tried to balance motherhood with her demanding profession. She adored her daughter fiercely, often bringing her to film sets, determined to show her that women could be both strong and gentle, ambitious and nurturing. Then came her most daring move. In 1965, Ann starred as Honey West, the first female private detective to headline an American TV series. With her short blonde hair, sleek black outfits, and a pet ocelot by her side, Honey West was unlike any woman television had ever seen. She was witty, fearless, and in control, qualities that mirrored Ann herself. The role earned her a Golden Globe and a place in television history as one of the first truly independent female leads. Yet, despite the show's success, it was cancelled after just one season. Behind the scenes, studio politics and creative conflicts ended what could have been a revolutionary moment for women on screen. For Ann, it was a bitter reminder that even trailblazers could be sidelined. The years that followed tested her resolve. As Hollywood shifted to younger stars and bolder trends, roles grew scarce. And transitioned to television guest appearances, showing up on The Twilight Zone, Mission, Impossible, and Dallas. Her performances remained sharp and emotionally rich, even when the spotlight dimmed. But privately, she faced heartbreak. Her marriage ended in divorce, and she raised her daughter largely on her own. In those years, she discovered a quieter kind of strength, one rooted not in fame, but in resilience. She studied metaphysics, wrote, and even became an ordained minister, guiding others toward self-discovery. It was her way of finding meaning beyond the camera's lens. By the 1990s, and had become something of a Hollywood mystery. Fans remembered her beauty, but few knew the spiritual, introspective woman she had become. She often spoke of karma, forgiveness, and the lessons of love. She once wrote, "Every scar teaches you something, if you let it." Those who met her in later years described her as radiant, still magnetic, but softened by time. Her private photos from those years, shared quietly among friends, showed her in simple clothes, laughing beside her daughter. Her eyes sparkling with contentment rather than ambition. Then came the battle that would define her final chapter. In 2007, Ann was diagnosed with lung cancer. She faced it with the same courage she had brought to every role. Instead of retreating from the world, she chose to share her journey, hoping it might inspire others to face their fears. Even in illness, she carried herself with dignity and grace. "I've had a wonderful run," she told a close friend. "I've loved, I've learned, and I've lived." In her last months, she spent her days surrounded by family, her beloved daughter always near. The woman who had once lit up the silver screen now found her peace in simple joys, the sound of the ocean, The scent of roses, the laughter of those she loved most. When Anne Francis passed away in 2011, Hollywood lost more than a star, it lost a spirit that had quietly changed its landscape. She had broken molds, challenged expectations, and paved the way for strong female characters in an industry that rarely allowed them. The world remembered her for her beauty. But those who looked closer saw something deeper, a woman who refused to be defined by the world's limitations, and perhaps that's why her most private photos matter so much. They show the real Anne, not the glamorous actress or the futuristic heroine, but the woman behind the smile. The mother, the seeker, the survivor. In her eyes, you can still see the spark that refused to fade. So the next time you watch Forbidden Planet or glimpse that iconic Honey West pose, remember the story behind the image. Remember the little girl from Ossining who dreamed of something greater, and the woman who lived her truth until the very end. Anne Francis was more than her roles, she was a revolution in heels, a pioneer of grace and grit. If her journey moved you, if her strength still inspires you, take a moment to honor her legacy. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories of Hollywood's brightest stars, because every photo hides a story, and every legend begins with a spark.